Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with cloud eggs. That's right, you've probably seen these things blowing up on social media recently. And by recently, I mean like 2 years ago. But anyway, I finally got around to shooting a video for these. And I'm glad I did. Right, these things are very easy to do and a lot of fun to make. And of course, super cool to look at. Plus, as much as I hate to admit it, since this really is a gimmick, very, very enjoyable to eat. So with that, let's go ahead and get started by separating a couple large eggs, which I like to do by cracking the egg into a clean hand, and then carefully letting the whites drip between my fingers into a bowl, at which point we'll reserve the yolk in a separate and much smaller bowl. And a lot of people get nervous about doing this step, which in the business we refer to as separation anxiety. But this hand method is very easy and works almost every time. And yes, I've seen the suck the yolk out with the empty water bottle trick, and I'm not impressed. Yes, it looks cool, and you can Google that if you want, but this works just as good and is easier. And then what we'll do once those have been separated is add a few drops of vinegar to our whites. And I use champagne vinegar, but literally anything will work. And then we'll also add a pinch of salt. And then we will take a whisk, the biggest and most bulbous one we have, and we will whip these egg whites until we have relatively firm, but not dry peaks. Okay, the most common mistake with these is over-whipping the whites. And by the way, do not use an electric mixer for these. All right, 2 egg whites is only going to take you a couple minutes to whisk up. And if you use the electric mixer, they won't have any soul. But anyway, like I said, we're going to go ahead and whisk these until we have peaks that will hold their shape, but are still a little bit soft and very luxurious. And if everything goes according to plan, they should look exactly like this. All right, not to brag, but those are perfect. And then what we'll do once those have been meringued is go ahead and take a spoon and form our 2 clouds on a lightly buttered Silpat line baking sheet. And of course, the exact size and shape of the clouds are up to you, although I do strongly recommend going with the cumulus. Okay, you're going to want to avoid the stratus, and under no circumstances should you attempt a cirrus. And one tip here, try not to make these too wide. Okay, we really do want these to have some nice height. I mean, not like cumulonimbus height, but a little bit of verticality is nice. And as we finish shaping these, we're going to want to form a little depression in the top, in which we will place our yolk later. And that's it. Once we've finished making our happy little clouds, we'll go ahead and transfer those into the center of a 375-degree oven for about 5 minutes or so, or until they start taking on just a little tiny bit of color. Okay, we do not want to overcook these. Otherwise, they're going to get tough and dry. Plus, they're going to cook a little more once we add our yolks, which is the next step. And if you're not sure your wells are deep enough, you could press it down a little bit with a spoon, like I did here, even though that was probably unnecessary. But either way, we'll go ahead and carefully transfer our yolks in, at which point we'll pop these back in the oven for another 3 minutes or so, or until that yolk is just barely heated through, and that surface sort of starts to glaze over and look a little bit glassy. But, and most importantly, they're still runny. Okay, if you're not going to make these with runny yolks, please don't make them. And that's it, we'll go ahead and transfer our cloud egg onto a piece of generously buttered toast. And I finish mine up with a little shake of cayenne, plus a little too big of a pinch of coarse sea salt. Okay, I forgot I put a generous pinch in the whites, so be careful with the salt. And that's it, my cloud egg was done. And we are ready for the money shot in 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah. And if you enjoy a piece of buttered toast dipped into a runny yolk egg, you are going to absolutely love this. And what makes this such an enjoyable / bizarre experience is that the yolk and the toast elements are totally normal, and yet you're enjoying them alongside this puffed up, airy egg meringue. So yes, it's quite unusual, but happily still very delicious and extremely enjoyable. And of course, if you want to dress this up with some fresh herbs, like some chives or tarragon or dill, that would not be a bad idea. Or you could do some kind of Eggs Benedict presentation and serve this on top of an English muffin and Canadian bacon. In which case, we'd probably use a little bit of lemon juice instead of vinegar in the egg whites. But anyway, those kind of variations are up to you. I mean, you guys are after all the pegs of your cloud eggs. Which reminds me, my mother-in-law's name is Peggy, and I'm thinking this would make a pretty cool menu item for a Mother's Day brunch. Okay, social distancing notwithstanding. But anyway, no matter what the occasion, our official Food Wishes forecast calls for a chance of clouds with a little bit of sun peeking through. Which is why I really do hope you give this a try soon. So please follow the links below for the ingredient amounts, a printable written recipe, and much more info as usual. And as always, Enjoy.